looking at the climate change performance and what countries are doing to fight against climate change, we cover 57 countries and the EU, and with that we cover almost 90% of global greenhouse gas emissions. So it's really a broad coverage. The idea is to make these 57 countries plus comparable across each other. And how do we do it? On the next slide, we see that we have 4 main categories that we look into. We look at energy use and renewable energy, which together then make up 40% of our rating. We also look at the greenhouse gas emissions, so the trends and future targets of greenhouse gas emissions. And the unique element of this index is a survey amongst 400 experts in all of these 57 countries, which basically give us information on how good the climate policies are. If you, on the next slide, you see that it's in these 4 categories, we have 14 indicators. So the climate policy is divided by international and domestic climate policy. And for the other categories, we always look at what happened in the past. So how good was the trajectory in the past? Where are we today? And what are the targets that the countries have set themselves? Where do they want to go into the future? And actually on the next slide, you see that in a bit more detail. For greenhouse gas emissions, the one thing that's very important, especially this week, are the targets for what countries are planning to do in the next 10 years until 2030. And unfortunately, we know that almost all countries have insufficient targets put forward. They are not in line with what is necessary to be on a well below 2-degree pathway or in the direction of 1.5 as the Paris Agreement requires it. So in this index, we check whether the target is in line with what's needed for the Paris Agreement. And we actually see that it is not sufficient. We have seen some updates from Chile and Norway, for example. UK has just updated their short-term target, but that was so short time ago that it's not reflected here yet. The other important development that we have seen in the last months are long-term targets. So many countries have said that they want to reduce their greenhouse gas emissions to 0 by the middle of the century. EU, China, and possibly also the US would be in that category. But we are not measuring that here. We are measuring the short-term action until 2030, which is still the long-term targets that countries have made still need to propagate into short-term action. And we still are waiting for that.